Yesterday, we made some news, and it's very interesting. We made some news as we reported on this program that there was a push below the surface to try and sneak in amnesty after the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill. Now, mind you, a lot of people covered this yesterday, but no one called us a liar. Do you notice that? No one said that we were lying. Instead, we had Jim Banks, we had Mike Lee, we had Eric Schmidt all come out and affirm and say no amnesty. In addition, we had Byron Donalds come on our program on this show and say, yep, Charlie, I'm hearing the very same rumors. In fact, I received a phone call from a top senator yesterday while I was actually in the gym, and he said, a guy that I know, and he says, Charlie, I saw your tweet, saw your show. All I'm going to say is that there are some conversations out there. How did you know? That was his question. I said, well, we have very good sources here. And he assured me that it was not going to be amnesty. Now, in that conversation, many other conversations, I have an idea of what potentially could be proposed. And we're going to try to flush it out. We're going to explain it. But very important, though. The Secretary of Agriculture, and a friend of mine, I've known her for well over a decade, Brooke Rollins, who's a good person, came out today and she said declaratively no amnesty. She came out today and she said there will be no amnesty. The mass deportations will continue, but in a strategic way. Brooke Rollins deserves credit for this because she's going to get a lot of heat from the agricultural lobby. She's going to get a lot of heat from the farm lobby. So good for you, Brooke Rollins, for saying this. Let's play cut 296.
I think we'll probably hear a little bit more about this today, and the conversations will continue. But I can't underscore enough, there will be no amnesty. The mass deportations continue, but in a strategic way, and we move the workforce towards automation and 100% American participation, which again, with 34 million people, able-bodied adults on Medicaid, we should be able to do that fairly quickly.
Now, strategic way is understandable, but we also must keep the heat on, which means that, look, if there are some farms that have engaged with illegals for the last 10 years, they got to go. However, there's a process which is like, we're going to give you 20-day warning, 15-day warning. You have to scale back. You have to be able to find American labor or find legal immigrant labor if necessary. And again, that whole legal H-2B visa, I'm a little skeptical of that. I think that whole thing's a little bit of a scam. By the way, of all the different places that we need to do deportations, there are places that are just glaring in front of us where, yes, we can work the farms, but there are places that are currently displacing Americans that want a lot of other jobs in this country. We have a legal immigration system, which, by the way, I think we need a full pause on because we have way too many people in this country, but they should not be here in the first place. And it's been this amazing last 24 hours to witness major senators, major lawmakers come out and affirm exactly what we have been saying on this program. And to reiterate saying, Charlie, you're right, there is a push for this. Now, I want to now articulate what some people are proposing as the solution. Because right now we have a declarative statement. President Trump's not standing for amnesty. Brooke Rollins not standing for amnesty. But this is a little bit of a word game. It's going to be a little bit of semantics. So let me tell you what will likely be a proposal that will be shot out there. And let me be very clear. The word amnesty is dead. But the essence of amnesty very well might not be dead. I'm just going to be honest. We have killed the word amnesty. No one's using the word amnesty. We have just completely just buried the word amnesty. It is so unpopular, no one's ever going to use it. But the spirit of amnesty is still very much alive in Washington, D.C. Not from Brooke and not from President Trump. I think that they are standing firm with their base, but that does not mean that there will be a 1, 2, 3 combo move. And just this morning, I got a text message that reiterates this. Good guy, owns a hotel and some other stuff. He says, Charlie, I can't find workers and I can't run my hotel. I mean, there's going to be a kind of a red alert, kind of 10 out of 10 DEFCON 1 crisis that will be communicated from the corporate class saying that we need a bunch of illegals. We can't keep our our businesses open. So that's going to be the opening salvo. Let me tell you what is going to happen is that you're going to see a narrative in the next couple of months at some way, because, they're distracted right now. And by the way, the stuff in Texas is just terrible. You're going to see a narrative. And when you see one of these synthetic counterfeit narratives, that's why the Charlie Kirk Show, what we do here in this program, is so important. We are pre-bunking and we are preparing you for what is coming next. Is there will be, all of a sudden, front page Wall Street Journal, front page New York Times. It'll be so concocted, it'll be so synthetic, you'll be like, this seems fake, because we're pre-bunking it. And it'll basically say massive amounts of businesses can't find workers because of Trump's mass deportation. So that will be the prerequisite. And it might happen this summer. Don't be shocked if they're saying summer vacations are being put in jeopardy by Trump's mass deportations. So that is the leading argument. It'll come from the corporate class. It'll come from you can't enjoy your leisure because of mass deportations for maids and for cooks and for janitors. So that will be the opening salvo. And they're going to say crops are rotting in the field. And then they'll say, because of this, here is what their proposal will be. And I don't have a lot of time to build this out in this segment, but in the next segment, I'm going to tell you what it is. So then someone will say this, because I heard it from a lawmaker yesterday. And he wasn't even saying he supported it. He said, well, this is what some people are discussing on the Hill. And it's the following. And then I will tell you why it is seemingly reasonable, but it's a catastrophically bad idea. Remember, the left will always exploit an alleged emergency. If we do not have sweeping quasi-amnesty, we'll starve and our businesses will collapse. Remember, during COVID, if we don't lock down the schools, kids are going to die. I'm sorry, I don't believe you anymore when you come to these incredibly hyperbolic emergency type signals. So what is it that they will propose? And I want you to stew on this during the break, and then I'm going to tell you why it might sound fractionally reasonable, but it would be catastrophic. And it's this. Illegals that have been here for more than 10 years, they have committed no crimes. We should give them a pathway to legal residency, not citizenship. Let me repeat it again. This is likely what someone is going to propose. It's not amnesty, Charlie, but illegals that have been here for 10 years, committed no crimes, we should give them a pathway to legal residency. I want you to think about that during the break, and then I am going to give a response, and one that you might not expect. I think every reasonable member of our common sense movement could potentially at least say, you know what, I see it. You've been here for 15 years. You've worked as a chef. Okay. Now, hold on. Now, first of all, I principally don't share that view, but I understand if you do. However, let me just repeat again what someone is likely to propose. Illegals that have been here for 10 years, committed no crimes, they should be given a pathway to legal residency, not citizenship. Okay. So I want you to think about this in 3 different steps. Number one, we do not know how many illegals are in America, and there is no record whatsoever of when they came in. The Democrats are not wrong about something. They are undocumented. We have no documentation whatsoever. Therefore, there's a great mystery around their status. So if someone has been here 16 years, or someone has been here for 6 months, how do you define this? The 1986 amnesty was like this. 3 million people got it, way more than were expected. People were still claiming that amnesty within the past decade. So the 86 amnesty lasted many more years. You can still claim it, by the way, as long as you argue you did agricultural labor in 1985. So basically, you're expanding a window that as long as you're willing to lie, you can get some form of amnesty. Now, here's the key, though. Here's the kicker. That's important. But the more important one that will end this proposal, and it should make it DOA. So therefore, since we do not know when illegals came in, if ICE, for example, has their hands on an MS-13 gang member who has not necessarily committed crimes, but he needs to go, all that MS-13 gang member needs to do is say, nope, you can't deport me. I've been here for 10 years. and that person then gets put into a 3 to 5 year court process. This would effectively end all deportations immediately in our country. All of them. What I'm saying, though, is that it sounds good. Illegals that have been here for 10 years, no crimes, pathway to legal residency. Every single illegal, every bad hombre would say, well, I've been here for 10 years. And they might be lying, but what they're doing is more intentional, is that they're going to delay the process and short circuit all deportations in real time. This basically, another way of thinking about this is they would use the asylum scam model, where our asylum system is a total scam. So they know that if you go to the southern border and say the magic words, hocus pocus, you're able to then, abracadabra, you're able to stay in the country. So what this proposal, and again, it's not an official proposal, it's still in the ether, but we need to kill it now, early. What it would be able to do is that every illegal would, in real time, as soon as an ICE officer comes up to them, the ICE officer would not be able to lay hands on them. They'd say, nope, I've been here for 10 years. I've been here for 10 years. Sorry. And the ICE officer could say, no, I have to have a court date. And that court date would be 5 to 7 years, 3 to 5 to 7 years. It would stop all deportations in real time. So if you think about it, it's so smart from the open borders lobby. So I want you to think about it as a open borders zealot. So an open borders zealot, they want every single one of these people to stay. They want the great replacement. They know that Trump has momentum on mass deportations. They know that people voted for it. And they know that all of a sudden that we have the one big beautiful bill. So if you were an open borders zealot, how do you then keep these tens of millions of people in the country? How do you keep these tens of millions of people in the country? You keep them by having just a rhetorical and a linguistic tool, basically a way that stops all deportation in real time. You would end all deportations with this. And so then what the open borders designer and architect would do is to have this ridiculous loophole, the same way our asylum system has allowed millions of people in a country that should not be there, and we can't deport them. And they do it on the good intentions of MAGA. The good intentions that a lot of common sense people, they say, you've been here for 17 years. So it's using our good heart against us. And isn't this the pattern of how they have changed America via mass migration? We have big hearts. We're compassionate. So they would weaponize the compassion. And you would then have 20 million people. Every time someone would try to be deported, they'd say, all they would have to do is be instructed and say, I've been here for more than a decade. And even if you know they are lying, it would take 5 years to adjudicate that lie.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.